Hello and welcome everybody. Today I wanted to show you one of my all-time favorite landscape photography planning tools, which is the Photographer's Ephemeris, and also show you everything about it, how to use it, and all of the great information it provides. So this tool pretty much gives you all information about when the sun is rising, when is it setting, but also where the sun is, in which direction, at which given time throughout the day, and a bunch of other information. But first of all, you just want to go to photoephemeris.com or just type in the Photographer's Ephemeris in Google and you should find it. So once you're on the website, you will see a page like this, and they also offer an app for iOS and Android, which I think costs a few dollars, but the desktop version is completely free. So just go down here until you see TPE for desktop and then click read more. Then once the site is loaded, you see a video on the top here. Once again, just scroll down until you get to number 4. Start using TPE for desktop. Just click on this and you will get forwarded to a page like this with all sorts of information and also a map in the middle. A thing that I probably should mention is that I'm not sponsored by the Photographer's Ephemeris in any shape or form. I really just love this program, so anything you're about to hear is completely my opinion. Alright, so you see we have a map with a pin. I'm gonna get to that a little bit later, but the most important thing that you have is this kind of arrangement of different boxes with Moonrise, Astronomical Twilight, Nautical Twilight, Civil Twilight, Sunrise, Moonset, Sunset, and then once again Civil, Nautical, and Astronomical Twilight in the evening. So first of all, Moonrise. Let's just explain all of these. Moonrise is when the moon rises and comes above the horizon. So this is pretty much like a sunrise, just with the moon. Probably not that important to most of us, but maybe if you just want the moon at a certain position or whatever, that might be important to you. Also, if you want to shoot stars, that might be a thing to consider. And of course, with that, you have the time of moonset, once again, like sunset, when the moon goes below the horizon. I think sunrise and sunset, I don't really have to explain that, but it's definitely great that you see the time of all of that. And astronomical, nautical, and civil twilight is probably where the most confusion comes in. And you have 3 different ones for before the sunrise, and you have 3 different ones for after the sunset. So this is actually relatively, scientific. If you really want to go in detail of that, I might make a video a little bit later, but from the research I have done, I think this, what I'm about to say, is pretty accurate. So pretty much astronomical twilight in the morning, you see here astronomical start, everything before that is completely black, so it's pretty much as dark as it gets, so ideal for star photography or anything where you really don't want any light. But when astronomical twilight starts in the morning, it starts to get a little bit brighter, not much, you don't really get any color, maybe just a little bit of brightness in the sky, maybe just a little bit of dark blue in the sky. It's really very subtle, so this picture just illustrates that. Then you see, of course, astronomical twilight starts at, here in this case, at 4:45 a.m. until 5:24 a.m. So until nautical twilight starts. And nautical twilight is pretty much where you start to see a little bit of color, you start to see a bit more graduation, you're probably going to be able to walk around without really bumping into anything. But yeah, I mean, you can take pictures there for sure, I've done it before, but you don't really have a ton of different light. However, when the civil twilight starts, you will really have oftentimes a lot of light, and I even prefer that quite a lot of the times before sunrise, because it gives a very soft lighting without, of course, the sun being anywhere in the sky directly, but just kind of reflecting from below the horizon going into the sky, kind of reflecting, and you really get quite a lot of different colors. It really starts to get bright out, and yeah, so from this point in time, so we'll start until sunrise is where you have this kind of time, and of course it always changes, you know, during that whole period from pretty much astronomical twilight until sunrise, you will really have light changing in 5-minute increments, maybe even faster. And of course there is a lot of science involved in this, and it goes much deeper and all of that stuff, but that's pretty much the information you need to know, and all the information I know as well. So then you have the exact same thing just after sunset, just, you know, of course, the other way around from civil twilight, which is the brightest, going to nautical twilight, this kind of medium with a little bit of color, going to astronomical twilight, which is really just a little bit of brightness in the sky, and after the astronomical twilight ends, that is completely black, completely night, and as dark as it gets. So all of this stuff and all of this information along with the times is already very, very valuable, and I think helps greatly to plan your landscape photography trips. And by the way, you can also use this of course for cityscapes or maybe even portraiture or whatever is outside. But you also have this kind of diagram down here with a line in the middle, and pretty much everything above it means it's above the horizon, you see it, and everything below it is below the horizon. But much more important than that is this little time bar that you can move around. But before I get to that, let's just go to this map right here, and on the map you can either zoom into the location you want to go to, or you can just go to the search bar in the top right. I have to say though, the search bar really isn't that great. It oftentimes doesn't find locations at all, so that's why I have to type in Westminster Bridge instead of the Big Ben, because it just didn't find it. So we're here in London near the Big Ben on the Westminster Bridge, and you see we have this little pin here along with a bunch of lines. And probably before I even go to the slider down here, I should explain what these lines mean. But the first thing you definitely want to do is grab this little pin, this red pin, and drag it to the location where you want to shoot. So for example here, the Big Ben is to the left, and here is just a very nice spot to shoot the Big Ben from. So I'm just gonna place it right there. And I mean, you don't have to get it perfectly, even if it's off half a mile, it doesn't really matter that much, but just get it somewhere kind of near. Alright, so let's go to the lines. This yellow line right here means sunrise. So at sunrise you will have the sun shining from right here onto your scene, which is very, very important if you want to plan anything, and I'm gonna illustrate that in a little bit as well. But definitely really great information to also not only see when the sun is rising, but from which direction. And the orange line right here is the sunset, so this is the location where the sun is gonna be setting at this time that you see down here. Then the light blue line would be the moonrise position, so where the moon is gonna be at moonrise. Once again, probably not that important to most of you. And the dark blue line is the moonset, where the moon is gonna go below the horizon at the time provided down here. So already very great information, but where the really, really crazy part comes in is down here at this bar. So if I move this around, and let's just start from the left, from the morning. As I go a little bit to the right, you slowly start to see, first of all, this line coming from the moonrise and going slowly towards the right here. And that indicates the location of where the moon is gonna be at the given time that you see right here. So at the slider, depending where you move it, you see where the moon is gonna be and in which direction direction. And if I go a little bit further to the right, you see a very faint yellow line right here, and that pretty much indicates the astronomical twilight start. Unfortunately, there isn't really any differentiation from astronomical to nautical to civil twilight, but to be honest, it isn't that big of a deal, because if the sun is below the horizon, you only see a little bit of a brighter spot at the location where the sun is below the horizon, if that makes any sense, but definitely not nearly as much of a difference as when the sun is risen and above the horizon. But as I go a bit more towards the right here, you see we get pretty close to the sunrise time, and the yellow line gets a little bit bigger once it is at the sunrise mark, and as I move it through the day, you see at any given time down here we have the line and the position and the direction from the sun indicated here on the map. And this goes all the way to sunset and of course moonset as well, so if you want to have your sun at a certain angle, that is really great to plan it this way. If you go somewhere for a day, you can plan, well, is it worth to shoot there at this given time, or is the sun at the wrong position? And it might seem a little bit underwhelming if you just see some lines here on a map, but if you try it out for yourself, you will really start to value it and probably keep on using it. And as I said before, I have some more pictures to really show you what I mean and show you the importance of all of the information that is provided here. And this is actually the location where I photographed the Big Ben in the summer of 2014, which was before I knew this program. So it's really a shame, because as you see in this picture here, this entire sky is just completely blown out because the sun was in the frame. And I've edited as good as I could to kind of hide the fact that the sun was right there, but at the end you see there's just no detail, and I had the whole day in London and I went to a couple of places beforehand, but I really would have wished that I would have planned it so I could have had a shot of the Big Ben without the sun being there, so I had all of the cloud structure without anything blown. So that's a really great example here. And I have another kind of a little bit weirder example picture right here. By the way, this picture I called breathtaking trash can, but as you see here, this is the view on the mountains from a mountain, and the sun is just directly in the frame here. So the sun doesn't really work there, it just doesn't look any good, and it really makes everything a bit too harsh and too bright. So once again, if I would have checked the sun position before going there, then I would have known that it was right there, and I would have maybe arranged it so I went on another place of the mountain and maybe shot the valley on the other side. So these two pictures kind of showcase that it really is important to know where the sun is at and have all of that information. So once again, the photographer's ephemeris is a great way to use that and to get that information in a very easy and very fast fashion. There is also kind of a more advanced tool that I use, which is Google Earth, actually also a free program. If you want to learn more about this, I've made a separate video, link in the description, or just click on the screen right now and it will open in a new tab. But pretty much in Google Earth you can like see a 3D view and kind of pre-render it that way, but it definitely takes a lot more time to plan. So the photographer's ephemeris, I really think, is pretty much all you need to plan a landscape photography trip, or pretty much any photography trip where you want to be shooting outside. So very valuable tool and amazing program. Also, you have a calendar tool here which you can just click on and go on any date in the future. So let's say you want to go there in 2 weeks, you can just set it to 2 weeks, and you see everything of course changes, and the sun direction and moon direction and all of that stuff is calculated according to the date you set it to. So once again, really nice if you want to plan anything in advance. So that was pretty much all for this video. I hope you found it helpful. Please be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already for more videos just like this one. Landscape videos, Lightroom tutorials and edits, and all sorts of photography related videos. Also, if you want to share this with your friends, that would of course be hugely appreciated, and I think pretty much any landscape photographer could benefit from this program. But enough of me talking for now, a long video of a very simple and easy program. Have a great day and keep taking awesome pictures.